Um, we've got a lot of serious topics coming up. I'm trying to figure out which one we should do first because we got three big ones that kind of all link together.
I
Or
think,
actually,
well, two of them do. I
two of
think
them do. Let's touch on the one that doesn't. S-
so. The Alec Baldwin incident on the set of Rust.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, recently there during filming of the movie Dust, the actor and producer Alec Baldwin uh, shot the head cinematographer for the movie and I believe one other person ended up killing them in the process.
So he killed the cinematographer, Miss Hutchinson, and he injured the director.
I don't think it was the director.
Let me double check. I know that the cinematographer that passed away was her name was Hutchinson. Let me check really quickly. I don't want to be wrong on the injured. So while I look that up, you describe the rest of the.
So this has pretty much been a huge shakeup for a while because despite happening last Thursday, a lot of investigations have been going into it because really we don't know a lot about what happened because because the police are still trying to investigate if there was even a live round inside the prop gun that was used because because they uncovered uh, both blanks and live ammunition there, so
Yeah.
they're trying to figure out like was this an actual like was there any malintent because in all fairness I don't really want to blame Alec Baldwin for this.
Yeah. So the name of the cinematographer is uh I'm sorry if
Halyna?
I think it's Halyna, but her name is spelled Halyna, and I'm really sorry if I butchered her name. But Halyna Hutchins, she unfortunately passed away due to being shot. And then the director Joel Souza was also hit. He was
So
hit in the shoulder, and he has been released. He is fine, but obviously it's still sad that he was injured as well as witnessing a colleague pass away.
right, because really this should not have happened, and this also compounds on the Yahtzee strike with workers complaining about unsafe working conditions too.
Exactly.
And there are even calls from state senators for a complete ban in the state of California for live weapons on
Yeah.
sets.
Mind you, this took place in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But I mean, ever since the 1993 accidental death of Brandon Lee being the son of actor and martial artist Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee tragically died on the set of the movie Crow, where he was accidentally shot with a prop gun that actually had an actual bullet in it, and it killed him. And that happened in 1993. And you would think that nearly 30 years now after Brandon Lee's passing, we would have gotten through. We would have been able to get past this, but I'm afraid we're not. And it's not like this was an isolated incident. It was stated before that there were other incidences of the prop gun going off when it wasn't supposed to on the set of Rust, meaning that whoever was in charge of the gun really should have been on their toes when like examining it because
Which,
he yeah.
based on the police report, it was both the armorer and the assistant director who were supposed to take responsibility for whether or not the prop guns were loaded with live ammo or with blanks.
Yeah, and I mean, the assistant director, while giving Alec Baldwin the gun, said it was a cold gun, meaning that it's safe. It's
Yeah,
not live. It has nothing in it, but he was wrong. And also, one thing to correct is that it's not a prop gun if it can shoot and kill.
yeah,
It's just now a gun.
yeah. Which, because most of the sources we've looked at have said that these were prop guns, but of course the fact that it shot someone, it,
Means it's now a fully functional gun.
yeah,
One thing that we saw during the press conference hosted by the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office was the fact that they're unsure what projectile was shot out of it,
Yeah,
but they do consider it a live round, considering the fact that it shot and it did injure people and unfortunately did kill someone.
I mean,
It is considered live ammunition.
mind you, blanks are still dangerous. Like
Yeah,
those,
blanks and dummy rounds are obviously they're not as dangerous as a bullet or other projectiles, but they still can kill you.
yeah, they you can certainly still kill someone with those. They are they are certainly not to be messed around with.
Anything shot out of a gun has the potential to kill, whether it's a real bullet, whether it's beanbags, rubber bullets, pellets, whatever. They can kill you.
So,
Using guns are always dangerous,
so
and this is just another example of it.
I did want to bring up the call from the state senate for a complete ban on um, live weapons, which I think is an absolute necessity.
Yeah, I think we should. I think at this point, with especially with the advent of mass use of CGI and other forms of visual effects, I really think we should be retiring the use of guns or at least ammunition being used as a practical effect. Like, I do understand from the production standpoint that visual effects are far more expensive than practical effects in a lot of ways. And that if you were to make a movie, say, like John Wick, that has a lot of guns and a lot of shooting, that using visual effects on every single one of them would be a lot more expensive and time consuming.
Because
But I,
because let's just think about
yeah,
let's just say let's just say for the sake of an example here, they give an actor a gun, and it's just like a um a plastic carving or like a 3D print of a gun.
yeah.
Like what would go into it? They need to CGI the bullet, which they probably do already. They need to do the kickback for the gun, make sure the actor knows how much kickback is supposed to go whenever they shoot, and also the kickback or recoil, and then also the gunpowder flying out of the gun. They have a lot to consider. Anything else that comes to mind?
Um, no, I think you covered a lot of what would need to be like shown and edited
Yeah,
in this like in
the,
visual effects for
because
a gun
because
without ammunition.
what comes to mind for me is like as a replacement to live guns, like they create mechanisms in fake guns where they simulate the recoil of a real gun, but just have no expulsion, no ammunition of any kind. It's sealed off, which you can easily edit to make it look like a real gun.
Well, the thing is that there were guns like that, like the sheriff department said in the press conference. The three weapons that they confiscated was one, the revolver used by Alec Baldwin, and then two other pistols that were completely non-functional, as analyzed by their ballistic analysis, and I believe those results from the FBI crime lab on those two guns also came back, and that they're completely non-functional, meaning that if you were to put something in it, it still wouldn't have worked. So there are guns out like that out there, yet the gun that Alec Baldwin used was still capable of firing.
Right.
So really goes to show that this is an issue. I mean, it's dangerous, and especially with many movies a year being made with guns. I mean, look at some of the highest grossing movies that come out. A lot of them are action movies,
We
and
mentioned John Wick.
there's John Wick, but I mean, even Marvel movies use guns, DC, Star Wars has guns, maybe not ones with bullets, but they still have to, carry around prop guns.
Yeah, which I don't think that's more of a relevant issue because really the plasma guns they use don't really have any kickback to them anyway. So
Yeah, but even in the case that they do carry prop guns, maybe it's not used, but they're probably there.
yeah,
And I mean, to tie it in with like Marvel, I mean, we're getting like Hawkeye as a show, and that's gonna have a lot of guns. So like, it's very real the danger for guns to be used in a lot of big budget things,
yeah,
and the potential for it to go wrong. I mean, mind you, we're glad that well, not glad, but I mean, only in between 1993 and 2021, only one person to our knowledge, has died on the set of a movie due to a prop gun, but that's still two people in nearly 30 years, and
Yeah.
you would think that we would have gotten over it back in 1993.
And to reflect on what I said at the beginning of the piece, is that, and this is just right after the deal has been made with
Yahtzee.
the IATSE strike, with them complaining about unsafe working conditions. So it's still a lot that needs to be done in this industry in order to make it safe for everyone.
Yeah. Um, what do you think any potential consequences could come down on Alec Baldwin or any other personnel on the Rust crew?
Yeah, because mind you, he's still the producer of the movie. I don't.
I feel like Alec Baldwin, the actor, probably will not get any form of
Yeah,
consequences, as Alec Baldwin, as an actor, is not responsible for it. But Alec Baldwin, the producer, I feel could have consequences levied against him,
right.
as it is within his purview to ensure that the set is safe. He
Yeah,
is a producer.
and I haven't verified this, but I believe he's, is he anti or pro gun? I can't remember.
I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like this incident per se isn't one that would fit within the normal pro anti gun dichotomy that we have in American politics, just because this is more of a situation about using guns in like production, not necessarily about restricting gun use in general, you know?
Yeah, because
This is more about making areas safe, and I would feel even the most like diehard of conservatives would understand the fact that like using guns on a set could be dangerous, especially if not everyone is aware of how it's used or not everyone is aware of the status of the gun. That it's probably just better to ensure that the guns on sets aren't deadly. I feel like that most people, no matter your political affiliation on this in the gun debate, would feel that guns in sets should definitely be restricted to ensure people don't die.
yeah,
Because I mean, actors are actors; they're not people that are trained with guns all the time.
yeah, and you'd really have to question how much training they would get before a set, because I mean, yeah, a lot of actors get a lot of martial arts training and physical training, but gun training?
Yeah, I mean, I know like Keanu Reeves had a bit of gun training because he had to do a lot of gun kata.
Yeah, and even in the Matrix too, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Matrix. Yeah, so he definitely has some gun training, but I mean, the vast majority of actors like probably don't because even ones in action movies, there are some characters in action movies that just straight up don't use guns.
Yeah, or even some that are like just there for like a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Alec Baldwin in Mission Impossible. I don't think Alec Baldwin in Mission Impossible used a gun.
Yeah,
So yeah, like he probably didn't have gun training for that movie, despite having a bunch of guns.
which I feel like at the very least they would have like a large like gun safety like seminar or something at the very least, because
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, they're irresponsible, but they're not. I wouldn't think that they're completely like ignorant of the idea that guns are dangerous. I feel like they would have at least taken the minimal amount of step, but I still think they should go above and beyond for just the safety of everybody on the crew.
yeah. And I think the main issue is not necessarily the gun itself, but the ammunition. Because anything put in a gun can kill you
I
if
mean,
fired. Because it's it's a high speed projectile.
I mean the biggest safety tip anybody can ever tell you is that a gun is always loaded.
Yeah. Don't know like honestly, I think the ammunition, I think that's the main culprit here.
Yeah,
Is that if there's no ammunition in the gun, then I think it's much safer. Like no dummy rounds, no blanks, no nothing. I
yeah,
think if you just keep a gun but nothing in it, nothing being able to be shot out of it, I think it will make it a lot more safe.
right.
So overall, it's just a tragedy.
Yeah,
It's really sad because an innocent life unfortunately was cut short during probably a big budget movie that probably would have furthered her career even more. I
because she
mean,
had a pretty successful career. I think she was like the head cinematographer for some other big movies that I don't remember.
yeah, so to the family of Halyna Hutchinson. We obviously send our condolences, and we cannot imagine the strife that is going through you. And obviously, despite Jose Souza surviving, I can still only imagine how the injury has damaged him physically and potentially mentally. Because I mean, you're a director; you're not expecting to get shot on a film set.
And yeah,
So, and also to Alec Baldwin as well, because I mean, he technically was responsible in the sense that he pulled the trigger and it did result in a death and injury, and I cannot imagine the mental toll that it probably takes on him.
right. Yeah, because that is a lot to take in. That you were the like you were the one that pulled the trigger on it, and we can only imagine how much turmoil he's
Yeah, and not only was he the one who pulled the trigger, but he's also the producer. So if something happened that went wrong and he didn't know about it, it will probably even reinforce. Like, I don't want to armchair psychologist, but I can only imagine the pressure that he's under on top of the grief.
because most people who both act and produce, these are passion projects for them, and I can only imagine how much of his effort went into this movie.
Yeah,
So that I'm also worried about that because this is probably a passion project for him because
yeah,
of the fact that he's both an actor and a producer.
yeah. So overall, it's a tragedy, and hopefully things get better. Hopefully we get some regulations passed to keep people safe on movie sets, as they're one of the last places you expect someone to be killed in.
Right.
Yeah, especially via a prop. But overall, we just hope it doesn't happen again. Yeah. And now moving on to